Okay, so you want to build the next big ride-sharing app. Well, you're in the right place for this deep dive. We're going to be breaking down all the need-to-know info when it comes to Uber developers. We're using some awesome insights from theperfectdeveloper.com.
Yeah, theperfectdeveloper.com.
That's right, the gurus of finding the perfect developer. Seriously, they're the best. In fact, if you head over to theperfectdeveloper.com right now and try the 5 questions, you can get a super clear picture of your developer needs, easy peasy. So let's get into it. What exactly is an Uber developer?
Right. It's a good question. I mean, they're not actually driving folks around, right?
Right.
It's a lot more than just your average app
Right.
developer. It's
Like
like
that.
this. Imagine a restaurant kitchen, but it's slammed. Hundreds of orders, different dishes, everything's got to be timed perfectly.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of what an Uber developer does. They handle all the real-time updates, the GPS stuff, making sure the app can handle like thousands of users.
So like a cooking show, but high tech, with code instead of food.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. And just like a chef needs the right tools, an Uber developer needs to know certain languages. ThePerfectDeveloper.com, they highlight some key ones. You've got Java. Well, the salary can be all over the place. Depends on experience, where they're based, if they're full-time or freelance. ThePerfectDeveloper.com breaks it all down in their guide. But one thing that really stood out to me was the difference between hiring in the US versus, say, India. You could save a ton of money.
Wow, yeah, that's a big difference. But salary is just the tip of the iceberg, right? ThePerfectDeveloper.com mentions something called the E-True cost.
Yeah, they're spot on with that. You get caught up in that salary number. But you got to think about benefits, infrastructure costs, even what it costs if you hire the wrong person.
Yikes, those hidden costs can sneak up on you.
Totally. So when you're figuring out your budget, got to think big picture.
Yeah, makes sense.
And theperfectdeveloper.com actually has tools to help you with that. They'll help you decide if you need full-time, freelancer, maybe even a whole remote team.
So it's about finding the right developer, not just any developer.
Exactly.
Okay, so once we've got that figured out, where do we actually find these developers?
Well, there are a bunch of great places. Theperfectdeveloper.com lists them all out. Freelance platforms like Upwork, TopTal, job boards like Stack Overflow, even recruitment agencies.
Right, but it's got to be more than just knowing where to go. You need to know how to actually use these platforms.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's where theperfectdeveloper.com really shines. They give you all the insider tips like how to write the perfect job description, how to actually attract the best people, even how to decode those super technical
They're
resumes.
like the decoder ring for hiring developers.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so we've got our pool of candidates. How do we choose the right one? I mean, technical skills are super important, but
Yeah, but it's not just about the code.
right,
ThePerfectDeveloper.com, they emphasize this a lot. You want someone who's also a good communicator, problem solver,
right,
someone who fits in with your company.
right.
They need to get your vision and turn it into code.
It's like finding the perfect dance partner.
Yeah. And that's what ThePerfectDeveloper.com helps you do.
So we've covered what Uber developers do, the skills, the cost, where to find them. But there's got to be one more thing on everyone's mind. How do you make your app stand out? There are a ton of ride-sharing apps out there. What makes yours special?
Right. That's the million-dollar question. ThePerfectDeveloper.com actually offers some good advice on this. It's about knowing your audience, finding those gaps in the market,
Makes sense.
finding that thing that makes your app pop.
So it's not just building an app, it's building a solution, an experience.
Exactly.
This is where the passion comes in.
It's combining those big ideas with the technical skills,
Yeah.
bringing those visions to life.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Finding Uber developers, the process, the cost, even how to make your app stand out. But there's one big thing we haven't touched on yet, the actual development process. What happens after you hire that dream team? How do you actually build the app?
Yeah, that's the next step. Well, it's a journey, like building a house. You don't just start throwing up walls. Got to have that blueprint first. That's what the discovery phase is all about. Figuring out your goals, who you're targeting, what the app needs to do.
So it's all about that strong foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you move on to design. This is where things get visual. You start seeing wireframes and mock-ups.
I bet that's fun, seeing it all come together.
Oh, yeah, it's exciting. Then comes the development phase, the actual coding. Front end, back end, all those APIs that connect everything.
Okay, hold on. I need a little help here. Front end, back end, APIs. Can we break that down?
Sure, think of it like this. A restaurant. The front end is what you see, the menu, the decor. That's your app's user interface.
Okay.
The back end is the kitchen, all the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's the server side, the data.
Got it.
And APIs are like the waiters running back and forth between the front end and back end.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. So after all that coding, I'm guessing there's a lot of testing.
Tons of testing. Got to make sure everything works, that the app is easy to use, that it can handle a lot of people using it at once.
Like a dress rehearsal.
Exactly.
Okay, then what?
Then it's deployment time. You launch the app, put it out there for the world to see.
Launch day. That's got to feel good.
The best. But it doesn't stop there.
Right. What happens after?
Well, just like a restaurant needs upkeep, you got to keep updating your app, fix any bugs, scale it as you get more users.
It's like a living thing.
It is. And a big part of that is your relationship with the developers.
Speaking of relationships, theperfectdeveloper.com talks about collaboration being super important.
Yeah.
What makes a good developer-client relationship?
Communication. Being open and honest with each other.
So it's not just me telling the developer what to do.
No way. It's a two-way street. They got to tell you what's going on if there are any problems. And you got to listen and be supportive.
Like a dance, everyone working together.
Exactly. When everyone's on the same page, that's when amazing things happen.
I love that. Well, we've covered a ton today. How to find Uber developers, the whole development process, the importance of a good relationship. But there's one big question we haven't tackled. Money. How much does all this actually cost?
Okay, let's talk about money. Building an app like Uber, it's an investment, right? And like any investment, got to plan it out carefully. But it's not as simple as just giving you one number.
I was just thinking that. There's got to be a lot of factors, right?
Exactly. Think of it like building a house,
Yeah.
a small cabin. That's going to cost way less than some huge mansion in the city.
Right.
Same with apps. How complex is it? What features do you want? Are you building for iPhone, Android, or both? Even where your developers are based, all that affects the price.
So there's no magic number.
Mm.
But can we at least give people a starting point?
Yeah, for sure. Based on what we see and what the perfectdeveloper.com says, a basic Uber-like app, what they call an MVP,
MVP.
minimum viable product, it's got the core features, user accounts, booking rides, GPS tracking, payments. That could be anywhere from like $20,000 to $50,000.
Okay, so that's like the base model.
Right.
What if you want to add some bells and whistles, fancy features, stuff like that?
Yeah, then you're talking more money. Things like in-app chat, driver ratings, surge pricing, multiple ways to pay. That could easily go over 100,000, maybe even more.
Wow, okay, so got to balance those dreams with the budget.
For sure. And that's where the perfectdeveloper.com can really help. They can help you prioritize, figure out which features are must-haves, which ones can wait.
Okay, smart. Any other tips for keeping costs down?
One thing is to start with that MVP, that basic version, then add more features later on as you start making money.
So start small, then grow.
Exactly. Another thing is outsourcing. Remember we talked about how developer salaries can be different depending on where they are?
Yeah, the US versus India thing.
Right. Finding a team in a place where it's cheaper to hire developers, that can save you a lot.
Got to be smart about it.
Yeah. Do your research. Find a team you trust.
Awesome advice. So it's all about being resourceful.
Absolutely. Building an app, it's an investment, but it's also a chance to do something you're passionate about, something that can really make a difference.
I love that. Well, we've covered a ton of ground today. What Uber developers do, the whole process, the costs. If you're ready to get started, theperfectdeveloper.com is the place to go. Head over there, try out the 5 questions. They'll help you figure out exactly what you need. Trust me, you won't regret it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and until next time, keep on building those amazing apps.